sports fans? Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Good to be back here with you on another week on the Snake Sports Talk Show here in Colorado. Lots of things to talk about. Also, fight promotions as well as we get ready for April 25th of Agoge Fight League 12. Two fighters showcased here for this show. Tyler Martin, heavyweight and MMA fighter, and also Chase Porter, heavyweight kickboxer, will be joining us. And we're joined by former NFL linebacker Matt Wilhelm, will be joining us on the program. Talking Chargers, talking Eagles, so much around the corner, especially with the NFL draft amongst us here as well. So lots of news that has been going around, and we're going to discuss that, even with the Dexter Lawrence's latest news. So I want to start with this. So we've had now our tournament set for the championship between Michigan and UConn. And I'm excited for both of these teams because they both bring a type of energy, and honestly, the matchup looks really close on paper. They're really good. And in my opinion, when I look at Dan Hurley and when I look at, and I'll also look at the Michigan coach, both these coaches really predicate themselves towards defensive stops, driving to the basket, and any way that they possibly can win those possession matchups, because that's going to be important. And I feel like with both these teams, and even with Dan Hurley, they've done an amazing job. And here's what's going to be interesting of the storyline of both of these. So if Michigan wins, and Michigan is trying to prove themselves for a few reasons, because number one is this group is highly talented, they're physical, and they're not afraid to get down and dirty. And not to mention, they're proving something because of a mistake that happened in the football program, which initially cost them a lot of money. So, and it cost them a coach, which was Sharon Moore. But that wasn't really truthfully a loss because he was dealing with his own personal stuff. And then on top of all of that, I mean, I think this is interesting. There are many reasons you want to be excited about this. Because now Michigan is proving to themselves in the Big Ten that the NIL really does work out in this conference. For multitudes of reasons, it keeps them competitive. And by the way, I think when Michigan looking as really good as they are, allows now other teams to really step their game up. And especially when you're looking at the SEC, the ACC, and other programs. Because you got to think, Duke, we thought had the talented team. They didn't make it through. Many people would have thought North Carolina would have been competitive enough to get out of the first round, and even that didn't happen. So there's been many changes that's happened in the college basketball world, and especially with the March Madness tournament. But here's what is also going to be interesting. So Michigan wins this. This will probably not be as close as to the Fab Five when they last won the national title, but it'll be closest enough to what I think with talent-wise, what they are. And then on top of all of that, they're proving in themselves the basketball program. is strong. It's competitive. I love their coach. He's very competent and competitive. And the NIL really does work out for the Big Ten. Just go and look at the football programs. I think for the basketball program, you can make the argument is making a lot more heat, especially for the way in which you're building rosters. Michigan has been able to figure it out. Now, on the other side, you got Dan Hurley. And to me, I love Dan Hurley as a coach. And in my opinion, I think he should be considered the top best coaches in college basketball. Because you talk about Coach K, you talk about Roy Williams, and you talk about other legendary coaches. If Dan Hurley wins this tournament, we should have the conversation of comparing many other great coaches amongst him. Now, many people think, they didn't have too tough of a schedule. They got to the national championship, didn't they? I mean, they're physical, highly talented, and these are youngsters they're coaching. So Dan Hurley, in my opinion, he's an East Coast guy. And it shows you and proves to you what Big East basketball is all about. So, and in Connecticut, I mean, they love their basketball. They love their basketball program. And I'll talk a little bit more about the other side with the women's basketball coach. Not really great things. But I think this is going to be a really fun and I think very hyper impactful game for both these programs. And that's the other thing, too, the hockey programs for Michigan. Because Michigan's hockey program, they're competitive. And they're willing to do whatever it takes to make at least this program competitive on all cylinders and in all different aspects. That's their job duty. And so I love with the way in which this game has gone about. So good luck to Michigan and good luck to UConn. I think with the way that this has really shaped itself up, I am really excited for what we're going to be seeing here in the next couple of, like, honestly, and then in just a day and just in the next few hours on how this is going to honestly pan itself out. So, first of all, I didn't even know this. I swear to you, I didn't even know this. But UCLA's women's basketball team, this is their first ever title that they're hoisting. I didn't believe it. I went back and I literally am like, UCLA's women's basketball has never won a title? I'm in shock and awe but you know what's funny is we're so used to watching UCLA's men's basketball team that we nearly don't even pay full attention to a women's basketball program and with the way in which it's set. And these ladies, they did everything that they can, and they brought home a title. And so I think this was interesting, though, because this ended up happening before the championship. And so Jean Ariama ended up going up, and Dawn Staley, who are two really good elite coaches in the women's college basketball world. And so just before South Carolina made it into the championship and then eventually lost to UCLA, there was an antic that basically happened between Jean and Dawn Staley. And what I don't understand is because the thing that gets me and in everyday life is when you have a dominant like program or you have a dominant business, right? Many people's egos and prides often show themselves. And like the great Maya Angelou, when some people show their colors, you best believe this is who they are. And so Jean Arima, like I couldn't even believe my eyes when what all happened was because South Carolina, they didn't just beat UConn's women's basketball team. They destroyed and dominated. Okay, that's what Dawn Staley does. And so because this happened, Jean, who initially could not move on from the supposedly before the game, they both were trying to shake hands before, the title. And all of a sudden, Dawn Staley was about 3 minutes late. Okay. But you know what, though? Dawn Staley, and like every coach in any sport, they're there to compete. They're there to dominate in their own space. So what happened was, because when she didn't shake Gene's hand before the game itself initially started, he came up and then all of a sudden confronted Dawn Staley, but Dawn stood on her own 2 feet. And so this was this is what initially had happened. And I apologize for our radio audiences, but apparently Gene Arma exchanged words with Dawn Staley at the end of the South Carolina and UConn game. And it was all because after that win, and these are 2 great coaches, but because that ended up happening the way that it did, Gene lost his marbles, and UConn was undefeated all the way up into this tournament. And just because that you get manhandled the way that you did, and now all of a sudden you confront Dawn Staley because she didn't shake your hand before the game? What is it about this handshaking controversy all of a sudden because of this in major sports? I mean, we just watched the World Baseball Classic, and Randy Arozarena and Cal Raleigh, they were both like trying to acknowledge his teammates. Randy Arozarena goes and gets his hand up, and Cal Raleigh's like, nah, listen, we're not in Seattle right now. You're in Mexico. I'm in the U.S. We're both competitors. We can go and get a cold one and ice cream, and we'll chop it up afterward. But right now, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to compete. I don't understand what makes everybody lose their marbles, all because they're not acknowledging his handshake, and even when the game and the competition is going on. I don't understand that. Only if afterwards, okay, and that's what really ticks everybody off. But if afterwards, if I don't see any acknowledgement or handshake or sportsmanship or any of that, then I lose my marbles. But because this was before the game, like I'm trying to keep my ducks in a row. I'm trying to get focused. I'm trying to win. I want to compete. What's wrong with that? And Dawn Staley literally stood on business. So I never understood this. And so now after that exchange, Gene Arma, who I really respect as a coach, basically said this: there's no excuse for how I handled the end of the game against South Carolina. It's unlike what I do and what our standard is here at Connecticut. I want to apologize to the staff and to the team at South Carolina. It was uncalled for in how I reacted. The story should be how well South Carolina played, and I don't want my actions to detract from that. I've had a great relationship with their staff, and I sincerely want to apologize to them. But in the apology letter, there's no specific apology towards Dawn Staley. And you both were coaches in the USA women's team. So what was that relationship all about? I mean, you're in the bigger stage. You're playing against the world. And now all of a sudden, you have hidden resentment because you got out-coached and you got outplayed for an undefeated team who for years UConn's women's team has dominated. I don't get it. I thought it was uncalled for from Gene Arma, and I thought he should have known better. Look, you take the apology however you want to, but the fact that he's not even adding Dawn Staley in the middle of this apology just goes to show you how badly his ego got in check and how Dawn Staley, just because of the competition, she pointed it out right. I kicked your you-know-what, but acknowledge the fact that we came out and we dominated and we played. Don't just sit around, be all pissed off because of what just happened. And then all of a sudden, South Carolina loses and UCLA gets their title, which congratulations to UCLA's women's team. Never knew it was the first ever title. I never knew that. I thought UCLA's men's basketball, we've known for years, they have been really dominant and they've had great players in that program. But for the women's, it was a good day for UCLA basketball. Tyler Martin around the corner, showcasing Agoge Fight League 12. I'm really excited about this one. So much to talk about. And Matt Wilhelm around the corner. And also another feature fighter, Chase Porter, is going to be joining us up and onto the program as well. So the Agoge Fight League, April 25th. All of you who are in the do not delay. Get your at AgogeFightLeague12.com. Ticket sales, early bird is $30, and then it goes up to $40 the closer we get up and into the fight. This is your opportunity and your chance to see the best of the best as faith, family, and fighting come together in one place. Great competition, great fight card. I am very happy, and I'm very blessed to be a part as a show partner of Agoge Fight League 12. Really excited for it. Check it out for yourself. MMA, kickboxing, so much action here in one place. Agoge Fight League 12, April 25th at the Putnam County Convention in Cookeville, Tennessee. Do not delay. Get your tickets and get your seats at AgogeFightLeague.com.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Agoge Fight League 12 is here, and all of the best in MMA, kickboxing, and more. Saturday, April 25th at the Putnam County Convention Center at Cookeville, Tennessee. Get your tickets. Do not delay at AgogeFightLeague12.com. $30 is an early bird before it goes to $40. And so joining me as he is facing off against Chase Blevins, and joining us on the program, Tyler Martin, with his up-and-coming fight in the heavyweight title. I gotta tell you, to me personally, I'm so beyond blessed to be able to showcase, an MMA event like this. And I absolutely love with what Agoge Fight League has been able to do in these last few title fights. It's been a long years running for yourself. This is a story for you to come back into the ring. How pumped you got to be back into the ring and just show people what you're made of.
It has definitely been a long time coming. I've been out of the ring for almost 10 years. Last documented fight, I believe, was in 2015 against David Robbins. That was a horrible weight cut down to 70. Was not the outcome I wanted. So I took a lot of time off from that. But, I have not felt any better mentally, physically. And not cutting weight helps immensely. Fighting around my natural weight class actually is so much easier now. And I'm so blessed that Agoge, I talked to Steve and I was like, hey man, how do you feel about me coming back and fighting on your show? And he took a step back. He's like, are you serious? Yeah, man, let's do it. And set me up with this fight, man. I could not be more excited and more blessed to have this and to display it at Agoge.
It's funny. I have a soft spot, more in particular because of the weight class that you're in. And listen, I give you and many fighters credit for guys that either bulk up or cut down the weight, because it's a lot. Your body fluctuates, but I have noticed you notice a difference with as far as energy, as far as flexibility sometimes, because there is even a part of you that you may have felt like at one point, like the weight class you're in, but then the lower you go, it's like, dude, I feel like I'm back in my 20s again. Like I'm literally ready to just throw down on the cage. So your fight against Chase Blevins, what are some things that you kind of studied on? Because we know for a lot of the fighters beforehand, they study the techniques, they try to figure out, okay, what's working for me that I know I've used, that I'm used to, but to be prepared against a fighter like this, I mean, this is a heavyweight. This is pound for pound. You're ready to be throwing any and everything that you can on the ring.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've watched some film. My fellow coaching staff, we've went over some of his fights for I believe it was Aries Fight Series, and honestly, now at this stage in my career, like I can break apart most of it, but I'm more mentally aware that again, we're at heavyweight. One punch changes the whole tone of the fight. So it's more being aware of my conditioning, his conditioning, how we want to weather the storm if it comes to that. But it's definitely one of those things where I'm more alert in my fight IQ of how we're going to approach the aspects of if we do get clipped or if, there is that unexpected change in the game plan to be able to adapt to that. I've seen through the few fights that he does have, he is developing and growing as well. So there's nothing to take away saying that he got this hole or that hole. Whatever hole he did have in a previous fight, he's got a great coach, great camp, so he's probably fixed it. I'm just going to be more cautious because, I mean, we are heavyweights, man. We're going to go out there and bang, so try not to get clipped.
It's I will tell you, funny thing is because like with myself, I've been a fan of UFC for such a long time. But I will tell you, a lot of the smaller leagues I've come across, like these guys are so down to earth people. And what's funny is like, because of my last name, some people get a little intimidated because it's Silva. And yet we've heard so many names that have been in this ring. So, when you look at it as a heavyweight, I mean, who was somebody that you loved watching the most, that you looked as kind of an icon for yourself? Because to me, many of the heavyweights, it's not like what it used to be in boxing, where you had Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, and all these big heavyweights that were pound for pound that were ready to be relentless. Was there ever someone you were a fan of that you're just like, man, as big as he is and how he controls himself physically, mentally, I love the way in which he steps into the fight and he's focused?
I would say top two was going to be Mark Hunt, the Super Samoan. Man, just that one punch walk-off knockouts was amazing to watch. And then you also would see that he could weather the storm, go the 3 rounds, 5 rounds, whatever the competition was needed. And just those nasty knockouts. And then it was also be for 100% Mirko Cro Cop. Just off of the aspect of what he did outside of the cage, anti-terrorist units, and then just knocking everybody out with those leg kicks and head kicks. And just, it was just to see the aspect of the flexibility at that weight was just always impressive.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, those are two really good fighters, and I give them many credits. I mean, these guys were very special in their own ways, and especially with their techniques. But to seeing them fight, I watched a couple of clips and I'm like, my goodness. Like, that's the kind of fight I love watching every time, because it's so talked about all the time. So I got to ask you, because, you're coming back, and more specifically, you're coming back to Agoge Fight League, which to me, I couldn't have said it any best. And maybe you could agree to this, but faith, family, and fighting all come into one place up and into the ring. What does it mean, and why it's so important fighting in Agoge Fight League? Like, what makes it so special for you, in your opinion?
So I've been working with them in behind the scenes aspects as a coach, getting them fighters. Been there with Steve, helping him out any way that he can, and just watching it grow. And they've never changed on their standards and morals of how they wanted to operate, the matchmaking that they wanted to do. And it's always been a more inclusive promotion, that they were 100% faith, family, and fighting. And they make it very family oriented. They'll bring kids in the ring. They'll bring, like, it gives that growth to the sport that is not seen at the major, larger promotions. It gives them that next generation a platform to grow, and it helps keep the sport growing as it is.
Yeah, and I think it also narrows down the true meaning of itself, what it means being a fighter deep down, inside and out. Because I mean,
Oh,
you could have the talent all you want, but it's what are you up here, and at the same time, what you're feeling in your heart. Because to see that in an atmosphere, I mean, this is going to be a large fight. I love this fight card. And the fact that we're going to have so many people here, up and in ringside and just seeing this, I'm excited for it. Listen, I live in Colorado, and we've had a lot of BKFC, and we have a lot of different events that come up to here. But I love working with Chuck and Steven. And to me personally, I'd love to take a visit to Nashville. I've never been to Tennessee. Absolutely love the barbecue, love the country music, but I would love to see some good fighting up and into the ring.
Oh, yeah. And that's the big thing with Tennessee now. Lately, we've had some great promotions, man. Like the talent pool here, and this is kind of aging myself, but when I started fighting in 2008, there wasn't many gyms. Now we have so many gyms. There's so many fighters that have coming out of this that the promoters are having to be very selective on who they put on the show for that. But man, like, you got to come down to Tennessee, man. You got to experience it. It's great. The atmosphere is something unlike anything else. Nashville is phenomenal. I work down there. I'm always on Broadway. Unfortunately, I get a little sick of it, but there are some nights, the live music, the food, and then I think that's why I'm at heavyweight now. The food.
Yeah.
Well,
hey, but you know what?
man.
It's always good when you're eating good in the neighborhood itself.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Well, the best part of it is, I mean, think about it this way. On this show, I've been doing it for 6+ years, and to have the opportunity to be a part of a show partnership with the Agoge Fight League is an absolute blessing. Because here's the thing, I was born and raised in Vegas my whole life. So we always have the UFC headquarters and, of course, T-Mobile Arena for all of our fights. Then I live here up in Colorado. We have so many different gyms and BKFC. And we're also talking through this while being showcased on a radio show in Atlanta. So many people up and in the South to come up and go into Tennessee. Come out, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. But Tyler, appreciate you. So if you want to check out more of Tyler the Warrior Martin's profile, just definitely go up and look up on social media and look up more at AgogeFightLeague.com. Agoge Fight League 12, Martin versus Blevins. It's going to be a great fight, stacked lineup card. Remember, early bird specials, $30 until it gets to $40 by going to AgogeFightLeague.com. Appreciate you for coming on by here, Tyler. Enjoy it and get ready, man, because this is going to be a lot of fun. Any plans after the fight itself? You ever got a tradition for yourself?
It used to be that I was fighting at 70. It was definitely going and getting some like a milkshake or something. But now, definitely just embracing the family and friends, just having that fun. This is going to be a great event, and I hope everybody comes out and enjoys it. I'm hoping to put on a show for everybody.
There you go, man. I absolutely love that response, man. Well, good luck to you. Good luck. Best of luck. Hopefully come away with a W up and into this ring. And listen, God bless, man, because we know that in the end, all faith, all family, then we're getting to fighting up and into the ring. Take care of yourself, man, and good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. And, listen, it's a strong community in MMA. It really, really is. And I absolutely love every bit of it. So to be a part of a show partnership with the Agoge Fight League is tremendous. I've never really had that. Like, this is the first time in a promotion I've ever had this in my life. So I'm really happy and excited about it. So, all right, well, we're moving on to the NFL, and joining us and talking all about it, because this draft class is going to be really something else up and onto the defense. And not to mention the latest news on Dexter Lawrence up and onto the Giants. A former linebacker, Matt Wilhelm, joins us. Matt, I mean, you take your pick. You're figuring out the secondary, or you're going to be figuring out the front seven with these stacked lines of edge rushers, defensive linemen, and even a lot of some inside linebackers that we're also seeing up and into this draft. What is something you kind of picked at for this up and coming draft, and what we should expect for the draft night here coming up late April?
Well, I'm going to be a little biased to my Ohio State Buckeyes, with most mock drafts having 4 guys going inside the top 10, and I believe 3 of them being defenders. So that's Sonny Styles at linebacker, Arvell Reese. A lot of people are mocking him number 2 to the Jets. And then Caleb Downs, likely somewhere between 8 and 14. I've seen the Bengals. I've seen the Dolphins. But yeah, it is. I also, having a son who plays offensive line, it's great to see. I've seen as many as 7 offensive linemen go and be mocked in the first round. So it's going to be an exciting draft. I think the 1-2 might not be a surprise to many, with Fernando Mendoza, likely going number 1 to the Raiders. As I just mentioned, Arvell Reese being mocked in almost every mock that I've seen, going number 2 to the Jets, maybe even 3 to the Cardinals. David Bailey, the edge rusher from Texas Tech. It's again, star-studded. I mean, you've got the corner from LSU. You've got the Clemson D tackle or the defensive end. So it's wild, and it's an exciting time with the NFL draft here just a couple of weeks away.
So I will make this argument because I think of these 2 quarterbacks that are coming up and into the draft, Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson. For some reason, we've been getting a lot of spotlight on both of these when it comes to who are you taking that's more predicated to being NFL ready. I'll make the argument, Matt. I think with what we've seen with Fernando Mendoza, so on this side, he comes from a Big Ten program, okay? And Indiana done amazing things. Kurt Cignetti, the foundation, and the Big Ten, you can even agree to this. It's physical. It's in the trenches, run the football efficiently. And when it comes to defense, shut it down any way you can to get the offense back on the field. But with Fernando Mendoza, he knows how to stretch time of possession for the offense to where our defense is. And because even with having a strong run game in front of him, that helps a little more, and a strong offensive line. Only once, Matt, he's thrown for over 300 passing yards, one time, which to me, I don't get concerned of, because I know if this is a foundation where it doesn't allow you to have to pass, like you're not overly reliant on that, and everything seems to be working, why not? But then Ty Simpson in an SEC program, I mean, these are highly talented kids that offensively, defensively, highly talented stars. But Ty Simpson only threw for 300 passing yards 3 times. But I will make the argument. He needs to have a protective offensive line, to have time in the pocket, to be able to distribute everywhere around the ball. And he has a more finesse touch off and on the football. So when you look at both these quarterbacks, can we just say that, like, one, if you're going to put him, because with the Raiders, they got Kirk Cousins. They're not going to throw him up and into the fire very easily. I like that smart move. But if you're looking at Ty Simpson, it's like you're going to have a bridge quarterback somewhere to build him up until this offense and this foundation is really more predicated. So now he has timing. He can distribute the weapons. What do you see from the distinction with both these quarterbacks?
I think first and foremost, what I love most about both quarterbacks is, as you kind of pointed out, the conferences that they played in. Fernando Mendoza playing in the Big Ten, elite competition, has won the last 3 national championships, Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana. You look at Ty Simpson, and again, there's a battle between which one's the better conference. As I just mentioned, the Big Ten's won the last 3 in a row, but the SEC is a gauntlet week in, week out. And so to have Ty Simpson be as productive as he was consistently week over week at Alabama, I think that you're right, though. Wherever he goes, I don't believe that either of them are going to have like the Cam Ward, Tennessee Titans type of narrative where they're just going to like trial by fire, throw him out there to the Wolves. And I think that's the other thing that I'll say, going back to Cam Ward had the big arm. I think Cam Ward being thrown to the Wolves as a rookie, almost like as a day one starter, I can't, and again, I'm not the stats guru on the Tennessee Titans, but I can't say that Cam Ward probably threw for 300 yards or more many times in his rookie season as well. So the expectations for these young men are to come in and be efficient. And I think that's what Fernando Mendoza is probably has the upper hand as the number 1 overall draft pick, and why, cumulatively he's been the mocked number 1 to the Raiders since the season was over and they won that national championship. But Ty Simpson has kind of like leveled the playing field just slightly through his pro day. And I think some of the Dan Orlovsky hype, the Chase Daniels hype, these guys that are on social media really breaking down the film. And you've seen Ty Simpson be mocked in the late teens, early 20s. or somewhere in the second round. So it is going to completely come down to what team and where do they feel like, and I don't want to say waste a pick, but use a pick on a quarterback that's going to sit behind a guy for probably a year, but a guy that needs that time to look, again, because Ty Simpson, 1-year starter, at an amazing school like Alabama in the SEC, but needs time to learn and develop, where I could see, although you do have Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins is going to go win you some football games.
Right.
If the talent in Las Vegas, doesn't run wild, and it's why they're drafting number 1 overall. I could also see Las Vegas essentially starting with Kirk Cousins for the first few games of the season, and then eventually just nothing that Kirk Cousins has done wrong, and really Fernando Mendoza hasn't proved himself all that well, but you might as well hand the baton to him, because if you're going to lose football games, you'd rather have that rookie and your future, not a 10+ year veteran in Kirk Cousins, be taking those snaps. And oh, by the way, you got, the Chargers are a borderline playoff team every year. You've got Patrick Mahomes likely getting healthy with the Chiefs. They're not going to be down, or I'll say 500 for all that long. And so, and the Broncos just, what played in the Super Bowl, or almost made it to the Super Bowl. So therefore, you've got a hyper-competitive conference and division that is going to be tough for the Raiders anyway. So you might as well get your franchise quarterback out there, get him snaps, not get him hurt, but get him snaps and just learn that game. So I think it's very interesting. I think, as I said, Fernando Mendoza has by far and away been mocked and going to go as a lock to go number 1. I think Ty Simpson is going to come down to who, and if any, and it's also going to be, this is what I've come to find out about the NFL draft since being drafted, is the team that's not talking about needing a quarterback or talking about liking Ty Simpson in that late teen, say early 20s, mid 20s, is probably going to be the team that sneaks up and just drafts him out of nowhere. And everybody's like, oh my God, nobody mocked him here. And it's going to be a shock. But they're kind of like, they like the lack of hype around Ty Simpson, so that they can go get their guy that they love and that really performed well in his pro day and at the combine, that they can really hitch their wagon to for the next decade as their quarterback.
That sounds like a surprise 4th team, in my opinion, when I look at teams that really can look at someone like Ty Simpson, because these are the 3 teams. I had potentially the Jets, because you've got Geno Smith, who's your quarterback for right now.
Who's stopgap. Yep.
Right. And then you've got Arizona, because they got Jacoby Brissett. You're trying to work.
Also a stopgap. Yep.
Yep. And then also, I'll make the argument from here, because you're going to deal with the cap hit a little later on. Why not Detroit? I mean, you got Jared Goff, who, in the next couple of years, you're going to have to deal with his cap hit. And so you want to slowly transition to where you get a guy who can distribute the ball and also has a great foundation with an offensive line. They may need a few pieces here and there, but even Detroit, they wouldn't even need to lose a beat, especially with the way in the competition in the NFC North.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, there's been enough patterns to follow of teams that, again, I'll say the Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. Yep. Drafting Jordan Love maybe a year or 2 before you actually need him to be your guy, to just learn the game. And so in this case, you draft the Ty Simpson, as your point, to the Jets with their second first round pick. Because they have so many that you can essentially take a flyer and miss, but you're rebuilding. But if it hits, you look like a genius. To not be asked to be thrust into the action, play behind Geno, and so it would be a perfect situation for him. I don't know if Ty Simpson is ready for the pressure of the New York fans with his performance. Geno was drafted there, so he's accustomed to that. But I think that Ty Simpson is a little bit more of the project. Although he does have some elite traits, I think to your point earlier about his 300-yard plus passing games, I think he pushes the ball down the field a little bit more than Fernando Mendoza does. But Fernando Mendoza is the safe quarterback pick in this draft. He happens to go to, number 1 overall to a team that needs a franchise quarterback. I think that Fernando Mendoza and his character, the way he carries himself, the way he prepares, I also loved, late, I'll say, against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game and throughout the college football playoff, Fernando Mendoza's ability to just take off and get you yards with his legs. So he's a very heady football player and a very smart guy. And I think that he's a guy that you can easily say, I want him leading our franchise into the future.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. So you played in this organization, and listen, I don't speak my fandom as much on this show because I'm very balanced, very fair with every team. But I've always been a Charger fan at heart since I was 7 years old. And listen,
San Diego Chargers.
Yes, the real San Diego Chargers. And, to me, this Chargers team, I love the fact that they bring in someone like Jim Harbaugh because he brings the San Diego attitude back into this organization. I mean, you've tried with coordinators, it didn't work. And then all of a sudden, you take a team out of San Diego to go to Los Angeles. Many people were like, okay, it is what it is. Some of them really didn't agree with it. But to me, this team and this foundation around Justin Herbert, like, you can't deny, Matt, this team really needs to figure out a way to not only just win a playoff game, but to really figure out to getting over that hump that they've been stuck on since 2018. And I will make the argument, Justin Herbert is highly talented, but you've even played around a guy like Phillip Rivers, who's a gamer, a guy that can really step it up when you need to, because it's no knock on Justin, but I think it's a lot of the learning curve, because at times, there are times where you can be a quote unquote good soldier, but there's a time where you're the leader of this team. You got to take matters into your hands and lead your men by example of like, look, we want to win this desperately. So with this window, these picks are really important for the Chargers because you got to defend Justin at all costs. I love the fact that they got Mike McDaniel. So what has it got to take for this team? Because I would just hate to see that like they keep trying and there is no success plan. But I feel like with Jim Harbaugh, he wants the success plan. He wants to make this work, and he wants to do it all by also helping with Justin Herbert to ensure he is successful amongst this league and even for the AFC.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just, one quick little pivot is, our San Diego Chargers have moved up to LA. Since I was a rookie in 2003 and 2004, we actually had training camp in Carson, California to try to garner those Los Angeles eyeballs and that Los Angeles money to fall in love with the San Diego Chargers. Because at that time, the Rams were also in St. Louis. So the Los Angeles did not have a team. And then the Rams moved back. And then eventually the San Diego Chargers become the LA Chargers. So it's been a Spanos family mission to garner the Los Angeles eyeballs and the Los Angeles money to take a liking to the Chargers brand for a long time now, 20 some odd years, right? But to your point, I think the mission for the San Diego Chargers, and again, to your point about Harbaugh being hired, is Harbaugh's been successful everywhere he's been. Yep. Stanford, successful. San Francisco 49ers, multiple NFC championship appearances and a Super Bowl appearance, didn't win the ring there, comes to Michigan, and again, as a Buckeye, wins a national championship. But then, takes off and runs back to the National Football League because the college game was no longer for him. So I think he's an amazing leader. And I think that's exactly what the Chargers need, because the Rams have won a Super Bowl and have had a Super Bowl, and multiple Super Bowl appearances, or made a run at the Super Bowl since they've hired Sean McVay. Again, with Jared Goff, and then traded him away. You've made Matthew Stafford now late in his career as the league MVP. So they're doing a lot of things right, and so the Chargers are constantly chasing that NFC rival that they share a building with at SoFi, with the Los Angeles Rams and Stan Kroenke, who's done so many things right in the last decade. And so the one thing that I would say, if you're directionally looking at what the Chargers can do, is, and it goes back to what I talked about with the Raiders, is you're going to play Patrick Mahomes twice a year. So that's Andy Reid and the Chiefs twice a year. You're going to play, Bo Nix and Sean Payton twice a year. And both of them are now kind of like apexed towards their Super Bowl windows. Mahomes's might be closing, as everybody's getting a little bit older and expensive in Kansas City. And, but Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos with Sean Payton, that window was wide open, and you can see the moves that they're making in free agency and re-upping some of their guys, playing great defense and playing opportunistic, don't mess this up offense, just keeping you in football games. And I think, again, sometimes being in Ohio, I don't get to watch many Charger games because they're not televised. I get Steelers, I get Packers, I get NFC North, and I get AFC North, right?
Mm-hmm.
Steelers, Browns, Ravens, here or NFC East. So I don't get to watch many Chargers games. But the one thing that it always seems is it feels as if they need more consistent playmakers around Justin Herbert. And I mean like high-end playmakers, not a dated Keenan Allen, not a project, Quentin Johnston, the TCU wide receiver who just seemed like a deep ball threat.
Right.
And because I feel like they're putting and a run game and an offensive line to protect Justin Herbert. I feel like the ball is being thrown too much with Justin Herbert, and too much is being put on his shoulders to have to throw them to victory. It's when you look at what wins, you look at what Mike Vrabel did with New England in year one. It's great defense and running the football and a young budding superstar in Drake May strategically pushing the football down the field to some like no name-ish wide receivers and Stephon Diggs is your playmaker who's kind of bounced around the league in the last few years. So it's kind of makeshift. But that being said, I think running the football, playing great defense is always going to help you get to the playoffs. And throwing the football 35 plus times a game with Justin Herbert, that means you got to protect him a bunch, and you can't just turn around and hand the football off and get 4 yards when you really want to, because you don't have an offensive line who can do that. So I think via this draft, it's more playmakers, just keep throwing playmakers around Justin Herbert, because you want to open that you have him now. He's your franchise quarterback. He's not going anywhere, at least not for 5 years, we'll say. So your Super Bowl window should be open, with Justin Herbert and at least making a run. And now your challenge is to chase those teams in your division to make the playoffs each and every year and not back your way in via wild card. So how do you compete with Denver? How do you compete with the Kansas City Chiefs with now soon to be healthy Patrick Mahomes?
Right. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. And listen, I think more of the pivot is the fact of Bo Nix won a playoff game. Sam Darnold won a playoff game. Caleb Williams won a playoff game. Drake May won a playoff game. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, when? When does it become his turn? And when do we get serious? Because that's initially where there's only a certain amount of window open, because the NFL stands for not for long. You don't get these windows this often. And so hopefully they can figure this out. And I feel like there's a shocking twist that may happen in draft night. I don't know what it is, but I know with Harbaugh, he always says competitors welcome. Who knows what competitor is going to be up and out there? But a final question here for you. So you've had the pleasure of playing in a BCS national title game at Ohio State, and then also having the pleasure of playing in a Super Bowl with Green Bay. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, the tale tells itself. But when you think about that, with the competition with many of these teams, I would make the argument. I love watching defenses get more physical. I love the fact that the running back is resurrected to where it needs to be, because how can you not love having a healthy run game? And then the fact that you're going to get the best out of these quarterbacks. So the evolution of this game is only going to continue to get better and better. I'm not looking for a run up the score type deal, because then what are we doing with defenses? It doesn't make no sense. This isn't the NBA. Right. So when you think about this, I mean, the game's going to continue to get better and better. And it can't be any more better the more and more we get drafts like this, and then have the opportunity of rosters to be shaped like this for many years.
It absolutely is. And I think, the one thing that when you actually look at some of the, and I know I've mentioned mock drafts with where Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson and maybe some of those Buckeyes are all going to go. I think the one thing that is not that surprising when you see these 32 picks in the first round and which teams pick where, and at least for now, all we have to be is captivated by those mocks is look at the number of big schools that win like 10 plus football games every year, and their players being mocked into this first round. It's multiple Ohio State Buckeyes. It's multiple Clemson Tigers. It's multiple Miami Hurricanes. It's multiple LSU Tigers. It's big school, SEC, Big Ten, high-end ACC, high-end Big 12 football schools that are all projected, and I know I think there's a safety from Toledo, that could sneak into that first round, who's going to be like just a shade below Caleb Downs, on many people's safety boards. But big school, highly talented, highly recruited guys that went to these schools, developed appropriately, potentially helped them either compete for a conference championship and potentially a national championship, are all going to move on to their careers in the National Football League. And I think it's so intriguing. And I think, kind of bringing it all full circle to a BCS national championship and a Super Bowl. And I've said this for years. When I talk about, which one's better, it's not even that. It's you have to be healthy. You have to be playing your best, and you got to get a little lucky, in December or in November in the college game to make that run to go win a championship. And I think for whatever reason, to go back to the Chargers narrative, it's like, Justin Herbert, hasn't had the talent, and guys have been dinged on defense around him to be able to make the run appropriately. And you just kind of need that perfect storm. The Chiefs have done it multiple years with Mahomes. Finally, he gets dinged up. Kelsey feels like he lost a step, and they have no run game, and they become very ordinary, just like everybody else in the National Football League, 9-8 football team. So your health and playing well late really, really matters. And I think for the NFL draft, to your point, to kind of put a bow on this thing, it's like you're trying to find those next guys that have been competitively great at big schools to draft in this first round to essentially become plug-and-play competitors or plug-and-play starters for many of these teams.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it any better than that. I mean, it's ultimately why this game is king. The fact that we love watching it, we love the competition, and the fact that it's going to continue to get better and better. I just can't wait for it. And hopefully with draft night, because it's always the best part. You got free agency out the way, but there still are some moves to be made even during and afterwards. So we'll see what happens up from there. But a lot of the bright futures up from here. I think it's going to be a fun night. Matt, appreciate you for coming on by, man. And listen, the draft being down the street up in Pittsburgh, it's going to be a fun night. Lots of different shocking moves. It's exciting, but we'll see what storylines we're going to come across here up and on draft night. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you soon.
I appreciate you, Jake, for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. I absolutely love that. It gets me fired up, especially as a diehard Charger fan at heart. It gets me fired up to know that, there is hope, and there is lots of exciting things up from here. All right. So we just had our last fighter up and on here from the beginning. So we always save the best for last. We started it up, and we're going to finish it the same way. Chase Porter joining us up and on the program for Porter versus Jones kickboxing heavyweight division. So this fight card is stacked for Agoge Fight League 12. The fact that we're going to have MMA, kickboxing, and so many different great fights, all in one place. When I think of kickboxing, I do believe there is many art forms and techniques that go into it because you want to be precise. You want to be able to make sure you're catching it in certain positions. So when you go into your fight against Jones, I'm sure you've done film and done tape. What are some of the key things you look for when it comes to kickboxing in general?
Well, I mean, one big thing, I don't want to give too much away, but reaction. That's a huge one. You want them to play your game. You don't want to play their game. You want to be able to set the pace. That's one of the biggest things that I could see.
Yeah, and I think ultimately too is even for a heavyweight class, because you're thinking you're going pound for pound, and there's a lot of times where it's just like I got to be able to stay on my own 2 feet, and I don't want to get caught into a situation where I can't get out of. And sometimes that does happen for some fighters. So whenever you feel like your back's against the fence, no pun intended, but anytime that it does happen, what kind of races through your mind? Are there certain things that you kind of look for that you're like, I know how to get myself out of this, and I also know there's strategies and different techniques I utilize in order for me to get me back on my ground, to get the ground back to balance?
Yes, sir. One of the biggest things is being able to stay calm and breathe. If you can breathe, you can think. And I think that's one of the key factors to getting yourself to a safer position. Also, breathing, make sure it helps you not get tired as fast. So that's another thing. If you get tired, it's harder to think, and it's easier to get caught and get in more dangerous situations. So I mean, we work very hard on that. As you see this cage behind me, we work in here day by day, just running over worst case scenarios and how to put ourselves in best case scenarios.
I love it. It really does give more respect to people that, like, when I see you and you're up and in the ring and you're working, you're constantly working up on your craft. I respect it a lot more because you're focused. You're ready and preparing yourself for anything. And that goes for every athlete. It's the best. So to officially be the show partner for Agoge Fight League 12, this is the first time I'm ever even doing this. Like it's amazing, but I love how great this community is, for as small as it may look. But the fact of faith, family, and fighting to all be together in one place. Agoge and the guys, Chuck and Steven, they do such a great job with promotions, and they do such a great job of really giving it not only the best entertainment, but the experience as a whole, because you got futures that may come up to it. Why and what makes it so special to be fighting in the Agoge Fight League?
Well, I mean, you said it first. Faith. They're very big on faith, and not only that, but respect. The community as a whole is very tight knit. I've met a lot of great people and seen a lot of great things through these great opportunities we've been presented with, and I've met some of the best people I've ever met in my life. They showed me a new way, and my whole team and I are very grateful for every opportunity that they keep sending our way, and we plan on to keep it coming.
Man, you being the second fighter I've already interviewed today just gets me more excited that, like, I got to save up enough cash to come out and to be able to special guests to come out and watch a fight or two.
It's worth every cent, man. It's worth every
absolutely cent. Man. Like, listen, I've never been to Tennessee. I know the food is great, country music's fantastic, but the fact of coming out and watching a fight and just being fully entertained and just can't get enough is like the best thing. And listen, not only just with my last name being a Silva, which is always big in the MMA world, but the fact of, how great that the community continues to stand strong. And even here in Colorado, we got BKFC. We got everything that you can even name of. So I absolutely love it. It's an absolute pleasure and a blessing to be able to do this and to be able to talk with all of the fighters like yourself, because this is going to be a fun night. It's going to be It's going to be a lot of fun, and I know you and your team are very pumped to be getting in there, up and into the ring, and just showing exactly what you're made of. Chase, appreciate you for taking the time to come up and on with us. If you want more of Chase Porter, check out his profile, all of the social medias. Keep up to date with his fight against Jones. That is the heavyweight kickboxing matchup bout on Agoge Fight League 12, April 25th at the Putnam County Convention Center in Cookeville, Tennessee. Get your tickets now at agogefightleague.com. Early bird specials is $30 before it goes to 40. So do not waste the time. Take advantage of it now before it goes back to regular price. Appreciate you, Chase. Good luck.
Thank you.
And let's just see what we got in store on April 25th.
Chase, no cap Porter, baby.
Let's go. Yeah, this is awesome. I love this. This is only just the beginning. I absolutely love every bit of this. Appreciate everybody for coming on by here, and even for all of our fighters, as we're getting a taste, we're getting an appetizer of what's to come of April 25th. Porter Jones, and then also Martin versus Blevins. That's what we showcased up in here today for Agoge Fight League 12. So check it out at agogefightleague.com. All righty, folks. Sports Talk Show. Also, check out the pay-per-view. If you're not able to make it, check out the pay-per-view exclusively on millions.co. That's where you can see Agoge Fight League 12. Check it out for yourself and enjoy a lot of the fun, entertaining action. All righty. We got to get out of here. Appreciate it for everybody for coming with us and joining us here up and on the program. We'll see you guys in the next episode of Snake Sports Talk Show. Take care, everyone.